Top of the morning folks, today from the Reddit Rainforest. How have you traumatized your parents? When I was in 8th grade I was staying the night at my friend's house, and it so happened that one of my favorite movies, A Christmas Story, was going to be playing on TBS. My family did not have cable and I knew everyone would enjoy watching it on Christmas at my house, so I asked my buddy if we could record it onto VHS so I could take it home. He grabbed a blank tape from his dad's office, popped it in the VCR, and we recorded Ralphie and his Christmas shenanigans. The following day I went home and told my parents and siblings that I had a copy of the movie. They were ecstatic, and we all agreed to watch it the following week on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve rolls around, and my parents, brothers, about 5 and 8 years old, sister, 7 years old, and myself gather around the TV to watch the movie. I rewind the tape to beginning and press play. For the next 3 seconds, although it felt like an hour, my entire family and I watched a woman sucking a large dick before it quickly cut to A Christmas Story. We had obviously taped over one of my friend's dad's naked PR clear tapes. Nobody flinched. I looked at my parents, who had these bizarre frozen smiles, as if nothing had happened and everything was right with the world. My brothers and sister continued watching the TV, but had looks of bewilderment on their faces as they tried to process what they had just seen, while simultaneously trying to enjoy the beginning of A Christmas Story. Nobody in my family has ever mentioned this event since. I'm 30 years old now, and A Christmas Story is no longer a part of our family Christmas tradition. Here's my story. It begins far away from my parents, deep in the woods. I was 18 years old. As summer came to a close, I went on a week-long hiking trip with my girlfriend. We went off the grid, many miles from civilization. There were no designated campsites, running water, etc. We were roughing it. Being young and randy, we wanted to have our share of sexy times. So I brought a sizable stash of condoms. Of course, there were no garbage cans in the middle of the woods. When the deed was done, I had to put the used condoms into a Ziploc baggie in my backpack. By the end of our week in the sweltering August sun, that baggie was full and funky. The trip went well. I returned to my parents' house exactly one day before I had to leave for my sophomore year of college. I was a ridiculous slob. So, using my patented packing style, I hastily dumped my backpack's contents into my bedroom closet, picked through the mess, took what I needed, and left the rest. Yeah, I forgot about the baggie, but somebody else found it. No, not my parents. My dog. Basically, my parents came home one day to find used condoms spread all over the living room. Yeah, apparently, my dog had found the baggie, but he did not just sniff it, or eat it on the spot, or whatever. No, he took it downstairs and spread my week-old rubbers and spudge all over the couch and carpet in the living room, the first room you see when you enter the house. Welcome home, Mom and Dad. They did not tell me about it for years, to spare me the embarrassment. When my dad did finally tell me, he was laughing his ass off. But my mother was apparently not pleased. To sum it up, my childhood dog spread my used condoms all over my parents' living room. When I was 15 I was super duckin' horny all the time. I also had never seen a penis other than my own, or in a naked PR clear. These two things are important. So I have my group of friends, and one of my friends who we will call D had older, cooler brothers. So they would get us naked PR clears, and we would trade with each other every so often. After a while have a collection of about 8 or 9 naked PR clears, all VHS, hidden in a garment bag which contained a suit I never wore. In my closet, I also had acquired a penis pump. I know, laugh it up. Honestly I thought it was small by comparison, but it was the kind that has the long cylinder and squeeze pump. This was also hidden in the garment bag, along with condoms and cigars. I just knew it was a genius hiding spot. Incorrecto. Come home from school one day, with everything that was in the garment bag on the kitchen counter, super busted, and my mom is freaking the duck out over the penis pump. It was like she found a severed head or some malarkey. She was mortified. So she yells at me and says wait till I tell your dad, and sends me up to my room. My dad comes home. I hear them talking. Then I hear him ascending the stairs. I'm terrified. He opens the door with the biggest grin on his face. Tells me not to worry about it. Gives me my condoms back, but says we have to throw the tapes and pump away. But he put them in a bag and put them on top of the garbage so I could retrieve them, and told me it was nothing. I was a teenage boy and that my mom would never understand. My mom thought I was the devil though. When we were about 5 or 7 years old, me and my brother discovered the similarities between ketchup and blood. Mom was not home yet, so we got some knives from the kitchen. all the ketchup we could find, cut some holes in our shirts for the knives, and staged a huge crime scene in the living room. We loved secretly watching the thrillers our parents used to see in the evenings from the living room door when we were believed to be in our beds. So we had some experience with a plausible scenario and put a lot of thought into it, creating a huge battle scene with blood on the walls, the couches, and of course lots of ketchup on our motionless bodies in the center of the room. Mom had kind of a breakdown. So when I was 16 I found out that who I thought was my dad was actually just my stepdad and not my real dad. Well, a sister I never knew about contacted me, and it turns out my real dad lived in a small town just 8 miles away from mine. Well, I met my sister and had her come over one day while my mom was at work. My mom came home early, and when I introduced my sister, I introduced her as my girlfriend. The look on my mom's face was priceless. I was around 14 and was pretty depressed, so my parents were on guard. One day, I woke up early with a runny nose, but being tired I just went back to sleep. A few hours later, my mom is panicking as she wakes me up. My face was covered in blood due to a bloody nose and I looked like a corpse. I sneezed when I had a bloody nose once during the night, so there was blood splattered on my wall and pillow with blood all over at noon, while I was still sleeping pretty heavily. When my mom came to wake me up, I woke up because of the loud screaming going on in my room and scared the entire family by accident. I fell out of a moving car when I was 6. Luckily I was in a car seat and I landed in grass. I was young enough that I took supervised baths. My mom stepped out of the bathroom for just a few seconds and I thought it would be super funny to sink to the bottom and lie motionless. Mom did not think it was nearly as funny when she came back in. Similarly, I was young enough to take supervised baths and was exhausted at the time. My mom stepped out and I instantly fell asleep with my face in the water. I was dreaming and I knew it was hard to breathe. My mom came in screaming my name and my head shot up, slamming into the faucet. I was fine, but she put me to bed instantly. When I was about 8 years old, I was going through our medicine cabinet, like the little rascal I was, and found one of my brother's old DP pens, the epinephrine injector for use during a severe allergic reaction. I was curious about how it worked and figured it was like any other pen, in that you clicked the top with your thumb and the needle came out the other end. Turns out the needle comes out of the end that you click, and it ended up going right into my thumb. When my parents came upon me screaming my lungs out in the bathroom, the walls were painted with blood that had sprayed around getting the pen out of my thumb. Apparently it was pretty grisly. To this day we do not know why, but toddler me decided one night to get out of bed, grab my toy hammer, walk to my parents' room, round the bed, and smack my sleeping dad in the face before dropping the hammer and returning to bed, hair still jumpy in his sleep. My mom and dad walked in on me using a plastic bag with lotion. Needless to say I did not finish, and the awkward laughter that came from their room was embarrassing. For some context, when I was about 7, I lost my cat. He just disappeared one day, probably coyotes, but his favorite thing to do was to sleep in my mom's bathroom sink. Also, my neighborhood is infested with cats because someone down the street never got hers fixed. So, now for the real story. I was swinging on my porch swing, looked over into the bushes, and saw a cat. It was laying down, eyes closed, mouth open, no wounds as far as I could see. It looked asleep, but it looked sick too. So to make it feel better, I picked the dead cat up, took it inside, and placed it in the bathroom sink. Plus, I was feeling really lonely after my first cat disappeared. I thought my mom would let me keep this one. To sum it up, my mom walked in on me petting a dead cat I had placed in the bathroom sink. I haven not, but my little sister used to hold her breath when she threw a fit. Used to scare my mom to death. My dad said they shall start breathing when she passes out. When I was about 9 years old, we lived in a crappy high-rise apartment building. I opened the window of my bedroom, removed the screen, stuck my head out the window, and screamed as loud as I could like I was falling. I then quickly proceeded to hide under my bed as my parents frantically came running into my room with me nowhere to be seen and thought I fell out the window. Eventually I started giggling and was busted. They were not impressed, to say the least. The first movie I saw with my ex-wife was Knocked Up. At the time there was awkwardness because we'd accidentally had unprotected sex the week before. It turned into a big joke between us, and I bought the movie for her for Christmas. Mom asked me, "What did you get Jen for Christmas?" And without hesitating or thinking, I said, "Knocked Up." She was driving and almost wrecked the car. When I was in kindergarten, I made a friend while at school. We really hit it off. And she said she had a big bag of Halloween candy at home and offered to share it with me. It was a fairly short walk to her place from school, and from her place a short little walk home. So I head over to her place and completely forget to tell my parents where I went after school. I completely lose track of time. We ate candy and played video games. Her family must have thought my parents knew where I was. We played board games and ate dinner, and I did not go home until after 9. I remember getting home, walking through the front door, and being greeted by the sight of my parents, both completely in tears, on the phone with the police. I immediately realized what I did wrong, and I thought for sure I was going to be grounded forever. They were not mad, though. They were just overjoyed that I was okay. A bunch of bear hugs and tear-filled expressions of parental affection later. I felt terrible. They must have thought I was dead. I was missing for over 6 hours. Every single one of their friends was out looking for me. I'm such an asshole. To sum it up, when I was in kindergarten, I disappeared for over 6 hours on my way home from school and did not tell anyone where I was, so I could play video games and eat candy. This happened the summer after my senior year of high school. After a long night of drinking, I came home and apparently felt the desire to puke. My parents live on the 3rd floor. I live on the 2nd, and have a bathroom on my floor. For some reason I turned the fan on when I went into the bathroom, which is kinda loud, and my parents' room is pretty much right above the bathroom. So I puked hard, mostly in the toilet at first. I get hot and really sweaty when I'm puking, so naturally I strip down to my boxers. I then somehow manage to puke all over myself. Well, that's unacceptable to drunk me, so I guess I decided to take a shower to clean up. Never managed to turn the water on. Next thing I know, I'm getting woken up by my mother screaming bloody murder, crying profusely. Apparently I passed out in the tub. The fan woke my mom up in the middle of the night, so she came to investigate and found me nearly naked, covered in my own puke, passed out in the bathtub with, as she says, my eyes rolling into the back of my head. She thought I was dead. I would say that was a bit traumatizing for her. To sum it up, my mom found me passed out covered in puke in the bathtub and thought I was dead. When my sister was about to, she climbed up on the bathroom counter, grabbed my father's razor, and proceeded to brush her teeth with it. Luckily all she did was nick her tongue with it, but the amount of blood was awful. When I was younger, my parents took one of my toys away from me, a brand new Mother Ducking Hulk toy. This made toddler me angry, so I did the only logical thing to do. I'm a larky in their room. I'm a larky all over their bed and floor. Edit. I reminded my mom about it, and she said it was not just malarkey, but diarrhea. I sprayed diarrhea all over my parents' bedroom. If you are reading this, you made it until the end of the video. There is no more after this. Click the thumbs up button since you liked the video, because you made it until the end. On screen there should be some more videos similar to this, so either go do something else or watch another video. That's it. I do not know why you are still here. What are you waiting for, a secret message or something? Okay, fine. Are you ready? Coming in 3, 2, 1.